Let's see how MongoDB handles big data. First, let's look at how MongoDB works if you just have a regular data set. You can just communicate directly with MongoDB. So you have a server. In this server, you have a database, and you are communicating with this database through a management system. So if you're using MongoDB, MongoDB is going to be your management system or database management system. That means you're communicating with your database through MongoDB. This is basically the backend and what is happening. If you're using big data and you decide to only use one server and communicate with that server through MongoDB, this is going to have a very long process time, and also it's going to need you need a lot of memory. Also, if your server fails, you're gonna lose all of your data. There is a solution for big data that you can use MongoDB for, and that is sharding. This is the server. If you remember, we had it in the previous slide here. This is your server, and here, this is your server. In this case, when you have big data, one of your option is to separate your data set in chunks and then put them on different servers. This way, you're gonna have more space, and also your processing time is going to be lower because each one of these servers that we have here is going to take care of one chunk of your data. It doesn't have all of your data all together in one place. So okay, MongoDB is going to make your data set into chunks, and it's going to send it to each one of these servers. It has multiple servers. It's going to send it to these servers. And then so now, if you want to retrieve some of your data, how are you going to do that? So you cannot communicate directly with your MongoDB anymore because MongoDB is in each one of these servers, and none of these servers have the whole data set in it. They just have a chunk of it. So right now, if you want to manually access each one of these, it's going to be a very hard job. First, you have to figure out where your data is, and then you have to communicate with that MongoDB. You're gonna have multiple shards, and each one of these shards are going to take a chunk of your data, and then it's going to put it in one of the servers. So each one of the shards have one server. What if that server malfunction or something? You're going to lose that chunk of data. So for that reason, you're going to duplicate this server and put it on another server. So in case this server goes down, you still have all of your data here because these two are completely the same thing. They are just two separate server, but they have the same chunk of data. And we call these replicate set. Sorry, we call these replica set. So all of these are one shard. You have a server that have the chunk of your data, and then you have a replica for it. You have another replica for it, which is a duplicate of what you had here. So same chunk of data over two servers. And then we're calling this a replica set. So this whole thing is inside of one shard. And you can have multiple shards based on how many chunks did you divide your data set into. And then each one of these shards will give keys to the chunk of data that they have. So when you are trying to retrieve the data from each one of these shards that is associated with that shard, you're not directly communicating with MongoDB anymore. You're communicating with Mongos. So what is Mongos? Mongos act like a router. So when you're communicating, so you're asking Mongos your query, and then Mongos wants to go and retrieve what you were looking for. But how does Mongos know which shard does it have to look for? So now you have another thing that is called config server. In config server, you have the metadata, and also you have the address to where each one of these where each one of these chunks of data are. Again, you have replica set here in case one of the servers go down. So if you want to understand the whole structure of this, is that you communicate with Mongos, and Mongos is a router. When for example you query from Mongos for something, and then Mongos goes to the configuration center, and then Mongos go to config server and retrieve, and generally it will go to the primary server first. And then if the server was down or for any reason wasn't available, then it goes to the secondary. You can have more than two replica, you can have multiple replica. Um, and then it goes and retrieve the information that Mongos need to do the query that it wants to do, and then it sends it to Mongoose. And then Mongoose go to whichever shard that data is located, and it will retrieve the data or whatever you want to do it. You want to delete it or you want to update it or whatever you want to do